Gloucester, and we bring them in and I'm sorry, is that 3 minutes?
You are over your time, but if you could think of wrapping up, but we
Yeah.
love your speech, but go ahead.
I'll wrap up. I'm all in favor of that second launch. And if you all want to reach out to me and talk to a launch operator, I'd be glad to have lunch with you and talk about it. We really need a second launch. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Michael. So let's bring Steve LeBlanc in, and then we have a couple more members of the Waterways Board. Name and address, Steve.
Good evening, councilors. Steve LeBlanc, 9 Carlisle Street, Chairman of the Waterways Board. There's a couple things I'd like to speak about. A few years back, when I was a councilor, when Tony was the chairman of the Waterways Board, I had a friend of mine come up from Florida. He was a captain of a very large vessel that he sails around the world. He pulled into port. I grew up with him. He called me, and we went back and forth a little while about how unfriendly the harbor was. Basically, he told me that the word on the radio throughout captains was that don't go into Gloucester. It's not friendly. It's not user friendly. It's not no anemones, no anything like that. We've come a long way over the past several years. Not only does this launch provide service to your mooring, to different parts of Gloucester, this provides a service to the downtown area, picking people up and bringing them, injecting money into the economy downtown. Not just downtown, but in East Gloucester and all over the city. They come in, they buy goods, they go to the restaurants. What Michael said earlier made a good point that 45-minute round trip, that's without picking anybody up. So what we end up having is people, we have an incredible rating on DOCWA. It's our service that you can log into and give a rating on the harbor and the anemones that we have. We have a really, really good rating, almost a 5-star, I want to say. So when you start getting reviews saying, oh, we pulled into port, I waited on my boat for an hour and 15 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever the wait is, it's discouraging. I fully support this. Like TJ said earlier, it was voted unanimously by the Waterways Board. It was vetted very well, and we're getting a really good deal on a boat. So I hope the council votes in favor of this tonight. Looking forward to expanding our harbor, water sheet, and everything else to not only the Gloucester residents, but transient boaters and anybody that would like to come to the city and enjoy the afternoon. So thank you, councilors. I appreciate your time. You guys are all doing a great job, and hopefully we get to support this evening and get this boat up and running soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Next, we have Donna Crocker. Donna, would you introduce yourself and your address?
Hi there, Donna Crocker, 7 Kirk Road. I'm also a Waterways Board member, and I'm a launch user as well. And I'm going to say the Harbor Master in Gloucester goes above and beyond finding deals and niches, and I mean, having repowered the original launch in the time frame that he did in this mess that we have going on post-COVID was amazing. The pretty blue engine that's in the original launch. And then, you know, applying for a grant to make this so much more palatable cost-wise, you know, above and beyond. So I think this is a great deal for the city of Gloucester, and we certainly could use another launch, because I've waited out there in South Harbor for the launch to come by, certainly with cocktails, but it's definitely, it will add a lot to you know, the boaters coming into the city, who, by the way, don't have to park in the city. So thank you. Good job.
Thank you, Donna. Now we have Phil Cusimano. Welcome, Phil. Name and address, that would be great. Can you unmute yourself?
Thank you. Hi. Name is Phil Cusimano. I'm also on the Waterways Board. I'm also a licensed captain. And I, among being a Gloucester resident, I I deliver boats up and down the coast and get to see an awful lot of harbors. And like everyone's been saying, Gloucester Harbor is an awfully beautiful harbor. And we had that rating that Steve Blank was talking about as being a harbor that you would avoid. People were saying that Gloucester Harbor was an unfriendly harbor. We have the most beautiful harbor and the best rating among all the harbors now that we never had before. And that's because of the way that TJ's been handling it. And the launch is a great big part of that. Having lost that launch last year for a time made a great big difference. And having a second launch is going to make a great big difference in making the harbor even better. So I encourage you to approve this, and that's going to make a great big difference for us. So
Thank you, Phil. And now we have Bob Ellis. Welcome, Bob. Name and address, please.
Hi, Bob Alves, 55 Perkins Street. So what I'd like to do is just, I want you to empathize. I'm on the Waterways Board. I'm a customer of the launch, and I have a mooring in Southeast Harbor. So here's a typical day for me when I come down to the launch. Let's say I come down to Cripple Cove, which is the public landing across from Zeke's. I come down there, I walk to the end of the dock. There's usually, I'm going to talk fast because I know I only have a couple minutes here, but let's say there's 4 or 5 people waiting for the launch. The launch pulls up, we all jump in the launch. From there, the launch goes over to the Solomon Jacobs, the harbor master's office, picks up people there. Then there's St. Peter's Landing, picks up people there. So let's say from A to B, that's about 15 minutes. Now the launch leaves St. Peter's. Now you have about 10, 12 people on the launch. Now everyone needs to be dropped off. So now we go off to the mooring field off the State Fish Pier. Then we drop people off. Each boat's, let's say, 5 minutes. Then we pull over to Rocky Neck, Smith's Cove. Couple boats there, 5, 6, 7 minutes per boat. Then we go to the mooring. I'm in Southeast Harbor, which is between Niles Beach and 10 Pound Island. So now we go drop people off at 10 Pound Island mooring field between the Pink Factory and 10 Pound Island. Couple people. Now we go up to Southeast Harbor. So I'm not complaining, but it's about 45, 50 minutes, maybe an hour. Now at the end of the day, I want to go back in. So the launch boat, now the launch boat comes out, picks me up, picks everybody out in Southeast Harbor, picks everybody up in 10 Pound, picks everybody up at Smith's Cove, then picks everybody up off the State Fish Pier. Now they come in and they drop everyone off at St. Peter's Landing, the Solomon Jacobs, and then all the way down to Cripple Cove. That's an hour. So then they start that whole process over again. Now concurrent to that are the so that's the net. But concurrent to that are the transients. So as everyone noted earlier, I think Tony Gross did a great job with the Harbor Master's Office, pulling into a harbor where you have showers and access to Wi-Fi, et cetera. That's like $1,000. Anyway, that's like going to a spa at a 5-star hotel. What Chad and TJ have done in terms of bringing transients into this harbor and forward leaning, everyone noted 20 years ago, no one wanted to come here. Now we are absolutely on the map. So the point I'm trying to make is that the residents are making out if we had a second launch because of the added access to the waterfront. The transients are making out because the transients aren't waiting for an hour each way, which is going to hurt us in the long run. And as others noted, the city makes out because there's no footprint. The launches are picking these people up, bring them to the Harbor Master's Dock. They're going downtown all day long. They're enjoying everything that Gloucester has to offer, and then they're back to the boat. So the net, it's a win-win-win situation. So I'm 100% in favor of the second launch. Sorry, I took.
Thank you, Bob. Would anyone else like to speak in favor? Seeing none, would anyone like to speak in opposition? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, are there any communications?
There are no communications.
Councilors, do we have any questions to ask of either TJ or John Dunn? Councilor Gross.
I don't have any questions because I know most of the answers on this because I've been around it for so long, but I just want to make the counselors aware. This is the last one of the final pieces of the puzzle of the vision that began over 15 years ago of how to create a gateway into the city via the water. It started with the launch, then we got the big grant and built the floats behind the harbor master's office. Then we, through Seaport Bond and the previous administration built the state-of-the-art first class visiting boater facility, which is really necessary for a modern port that wants to capitalize on the walking around money that these people bring to the streets of Gloucester, let alone the money that they spend on marine repair and fuel, ice, water, the different things that they purchase, the groceries. It's not just the restaurants and the shops. There's an awful lot of money that comes through via the harbor with the tourist. And I just want to, it can't be underestimated on how much Phil's experience, because he was along for most of that ride, and Bob's, who was there for some of the ride over the last 15 years, to help guide that vision. It really was invaluable to have their perspective of what happened at other ports. We went, as you've heard, from a do not stop port to a 4.8 star rating of over, I think it's 300 respondees. That's not a small sample size of people commenting, because they have to go out of their way to comment. And when people usually go out of their way to make negative comments, but we are getting this kind of a response on positive comments. And that's a lot to do with the harbor master and the harbor master's crew. They are highly professional. They give out, and for a long period of time, we've given out the visitor packages that tells people where to go, what to do in town. And it's been enhanced with Discover Gloucester's growth on how to get people to come into the city and really enjoy their experience to the maximum. So this is kind of exciting to see this. I have to stress that it's never a marathon to get these kind of systemic changes done. It requires a vision and then the patience to get these things done. And it's been a decade and a half, but I got to say, I couldn't be more pleased that this piece, because I think I was one of the first calls TJ made, because we discussed how looking for the right family appropriate word to use, that we were with the boat went down, if the launch went down, and this will really make a big difference in it. And just all the reasons that TJ mentioned about the maintenance being able to be handled, the swap on and off, so that all the hours aren't going on just one boat. And there's just so many reasons, besides the fact that we're getting an awful lot of money from the feds to help pay for the other boat. So
Okay, thank you, Tony. Appreciate it. So this is the question portion of the public hearing. Would any counselors, I think I saw a hand raised by Councilor O'Neill. Questions, Counselor?
Yes, hi, TJ, thank you for getting a grant, because that's a lot of money. So thank you for that. I'm wondering, you mentioned that we would be able to increase our moorings. How many moorings do you think will increase, and how many of those moorings will be for Gloucester residents, and how many will be for transients?
So we have the Southeast Harbor mooring field is really the only opportunity we have for space right now.
Yep.
We've had over 100, I'd probably say north of 150 moorings throughout the entire city's 20-ish mooring fields that encompass the coastline here and all our different tributaries and waterways. This is specific to Southeast Harbor. Southeast Harbor is the farthest point that the launch has to go to. The primary means of people getting to, there's no slips for dinghies in town. Every marina is overfull. So people rely strictly on we and that's kind of how the Southeast Harbor mooring field got open, because there's really no other access to it but the launch. I'd say we have the potential to add up to 40, maybe even 50 moorings over the next, that's over a couple of year period. We've already added close to 75 out there in the last couple of years, but I can't consciously add more moorings and increase the burden on the launch. We just can't handle it. So it's the wait time is only one aspect of this. This is a rotation, a breakdown of, when you break down, people are like, oh, you have other boats, just use another boat. You can't legally just use another boat. This is a for-hire certificate of inspected U.S. Coast Guard passenger vessel, where you have to have a U.S. Coast Guard mariner's credential and be a captain to operate. In a whole variety of other rules, drug testing requirements for captains and so on and so forth. So you can't just grab a boat, pick people up and drop them off. It's the law. You have to have a certain boat with a certain license to do it when it's for hire. When it's not for hire, that's a different story. So, long story short, it's an increase out there of private moorings of, I would say, at least 50. And I have no, at this time, I only have plans to increase very few, maybe 1 or 2 transient moorings in the Southeast Harbor, Niles Beach area. As we get more demand, I will add more moorings, but mooring chain and balls and more have gone from about $1,800 a ported mooring into well over $3,000 in the last 2 years. So as supply, it's a supply and demand increase. There's room for both. I would add moorings to the Inner Harbor because that's the most popular and the quickest run for the launch. It's most in demand, but there really isn't any more opportunity for transits at this current time in the Inner Harbor. So it's a constant juggling act. We want to be fair to the wait list. We also want to continue to promote growth. But long story short, over 50, and a few transients as well. And we'll see. It's these things takes time. By the time you get a permit and the mooring goes in and someone has a year to get a boat, it takes a little bit of time to get the analytics together to try to figure it out and manage it and regrid. So, but there's definitely a lot of room for growth.
Right, so if I'm understanding correctly, most of the moorings that you're planning to add eventually over a number of years, right? Most of them will be for Gloucester residents?
Say over 90% would be for Gloucester residents.
Okay, thank you.
And will come directly off of the wait list in which these residents have been on, in some of them for quite some time. Not so much for Southeast. We never had a wait for Southeast. Southeast Harbors, no one wanted to be out there because there was no way to access it. But now we have the launch, and the launch is used as intended. We restructured how the whole thing is done, and we're still working on some restructuring of how it's operated. But those are, management issues that I have to deal with. And, but we're going to deal with them, and we're going to keep continuing to grow and try to make this place better. So.
Okay, thanks a lot, TJ.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Any other questions, counselors? Counselor O'Hara.
Thank you. And this, I think Councilor Gross might be the best one as far as with his longevity to the existing passenger taxi, the launch. How old is that the Gloucesterman, Councilor Gross, for the people at home? So
We purchased it in 2013, so it's 10 years. So we've got 10 years out of that engine in a lot of use. And also another point I forgot to make was, Gloucester's priding itself to be a green community. This also eliminates an awful lot of 2-stroke and 4-stroke outboards that would be being used to get to these moorings. And this is a tier 1 diesel, tier 1 or what is it? Tier 1?
Pre-compliant diesel emissions wise.
Yeah, so it sips fuel, and very minimal exhaust.
Thank you. Any further questions, counselors? Counselor O'Hara?
Yeah, I was just a follow-up. I'm just trying for the people at home, because I've gotten many calls over this, just that they look at as TJ has explained, the 600,000, obviously breaking it down helps tremendously. But knowing that the existing Gloucesterman is 10 years old, as far as the condition of the Gloucesterman today, just so people can understand the longevity that the city of Gloucester can expect to see from this investment. What is the condition of the present Gloucesterman with 10 years old, which is pretty much the identical vessel as the one that TJ has proposed to us?
Sure. So I would say the current present condition is, I would put in the 90 percentile because we just repowered it. Obviously, there's wear and tear on gel coat and rub rails and so on and so forth, but we do an excellent job keeping up with the maintenance as it is, and ensuring that this thing looks top notch. People that really know me know that I like to keep things looking as best as possible. This is the first kind of thing that you encounter when you come into Gloucester. And you rent a mooring or you're a patron of it, you see this beautiful boat and it's well maintained and it sets the picture for the rest of the time they're there. It's a first impression piece, if you will. So I'm very particular on how this thing looks. I would say that it's in the 90 percentile. We got 2,000 hours more than the manufacturers recommended, or their life longevity. They say you get about 5,000 hours on these motors. We were on overtime on this. The first 3 years that the Harbor Master's Office from 2013 to 16 had to launch, it was very minimal use. The model wasn't there on how it should be used or how to get the best use out of it, in my opinion. And from 16 till now, we've put probably 80% of those hours on it. Again, we just repowered it. So if you went down and looked at that boat, you would think it was really new, very new. We keep good wax on it every year. We maintain it. We maintain the gel coat and the non-skid. I mean, even down to the tiller handle, which has 8 coats of varnish on it that I put on last spring. It's in very good shape. This is a Duffy hull. People that are familiar with down east boats, especially Gloucester fishermen, this is like a historic hull. There's Duffys riding around this harbor from the 80s. I see him go by. Tony's raising his hand because he knows this.
I had a Duffy that was built in 78 and it's still going in Maine.
So as long as you're
Few engines later, but it's the hulls are bulletproof.
Yeah, amen to that. I mean, it's a bulletproof hull. It could really last 30 or 40 years if it's taken care of properly. Again, every 5-ish years, we need to look to repower, and that's why I try to put money away in stabilization accounts and so on and so forth, or budget for at the time to repower these. But that's with one launch. With 2, you're going to extend that service life out quite a bit longer, because you run boats just like the Coast Guard doesn't have 147, because if they break down, they can't go rescue anybody. They got 2, and they run them not on an alternate schedule. Boat A is on odd days, boat B is on even days, and then you run them both when you need to run them both. So you're gonna actually see extension of life on these vessels by having 2 in the long run. And it's also going to give us the ability to take more time to maintain them, because I'll be honest with you, we go 100 hours sometimes, maybe even 200 hours without an oil change, because that's what you put on in a 4-day period or a 5-day period in a week. You might put 50, 60, 70 hours on a boat. By the time you can schedule it to get it hauled out and get oil changes done and maintenance and zincs added, you end up deferring on that because that one's so busy. So overall, the longevity is going to extend by having 2. And the boat we have right now is really in excellent condition. I would rate it in the 90 percentile, and it's almost 10 years old. But that's to a lot of hard work from my and to our local marinas that maintain this thing. I got some dedicated individuals, and my launch operators, all of them treat that boat like it's their own. They come in early without checking in. They scrub the thing down. I got guys down there with magic eraser, Mr. Clean Magic Erasers, making sure there's no scuffs on it for Saturday morning. I mean, it's really a testament to them and to the staff and to our partnerships with the marinas. But it's a great asset, could last a long time. Long
Great. Thank you. Any further questions? Council O'Neill, your hand has been up patiently. You're all set? Okay. Any other questions as part of the public hearing right now from City Council? Seeing none, I'd like to close the public hearing and ask for the committee report from our BNF Chair, Scott Memard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And by way of introduction, the Budget and Finance Committee had a good opportunity to have an in-depth discussion with our harbor master and reviewing both the boat itself and its specifications and also the two boats and the financing for it. So this is a Budget and Finance voted unanimously on a motion by myself, seconded by Councilor Worthley, to recommend that the City Council approve the loan order amendment as follows. Order that loan order 2021-004, certificate of vote 2021-157 of this council approved December 15th, 2021, authorizing the borrowing of $410,000 to pay costs of the purchase of a new Harbor Master Patrol boat, including costs incidental or related thereto, is amended in its entirety to provide as follows. That the City of Gloucester appropriate $600,000 to pay costs of the purchase of a new Harbor Master Patrol boat and a launch boat, including costs incidental or related thereto. To meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7-1, or pursuant to any other enabling authority. The mayor and any other appropriate official of the city are authorized to apply for, to accept, and to expend any grants or gifts that may be available to the city to pay costs of the projects. Any premium received by the city upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the General Laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount. And further ordered that the treasurer is authorized to file an application with the Municipal Finance Oversight Board to qualify under Chapter 44A of the Mass General Laws, any or all of the bonds authorized by this order, and to provide such information and to execute such documents as the Municipal Finance Oversight Board may require for those purposes, and I so move.
Second. Motion made by Councilor Memard, and it was seconded by Councilor Gross. Is there a discussion? Councilor Memard.
I raised this at Budget and Finance, and everybody deserves congratulations. We went from worrying about funding this boat in its entirety through the city's budget to the harbor master successfully obtaining these grants, and it was a very diligent search. We used some outside resources to do that. Wonderful example of teamwork. But the big question that remains on the table, besides the fact that we're desperately needing to put this boat into service, is what's her name? We've got a Gloucesterman. Is this Gloucesterman too, or is this the Gloucester gal?
I'm not sure. I am kicking around the Gloucester idea. I don't know yet, but if anyone's got any good ideas, please let me know and we'll kick them around for the name. Could be as simple as Gloucesterman too, and keep the fleet going as we build for the future. Maybe someday we'll even need a third launch. No.
How about Gloucester woman?
Gloucester woman.
Gloucester individual.
Point of order, not on the agenda.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for the point.
We're gonna name her the Tony Gross.
So Councilor Worthley, your hand was raised.
Yes, I'd like to just say, and I think we covered a lot of this in Budget and Finance, so I won't double down on it, but I think this, as Councilor Memhard said, this is a result of a lot of teamwork. I think a lot of credit needs to go to Tony Gross as former chairperson of the committee and now council liaison to the Waterways Board, I believe. He's been working on this for a long time. All the members of the Waterways Board who spoke tonight, thank you. Thank you to the mayor for doing this. But most importantly, I think TJ has orchestrated this to a T. And I just want to be clear on this. He's sort of self-deprecating, saying stars aligned. And I think, John Dunn, you said we were very lucky. A lot of that is true, but a lot of that is a result of hard work. I think it was Michael Jordan who used to be really upset when people said he was gifted, because you take 1,000 practice shots, free throw shots after practice to get better. And so this is about always being prepared. And I think TJ was in the Coast Guard, where they're known for getting more done for less. And literally, this is his hard work. And it's just not just stars aligning. He's literally aligned the stars. And so I think we should be very happy about the work he's done. We've got another boat. And I said in the Chamber of Commerce world, which I used to be in, we would refer to people that came in terms of transit boaters as walking wallets. No impact on traffic, very little impact on services, but they spend a lot of money here, which then comes back to the city in way of meals tax and employment. So we should be really proud of this and excited. And thank you, TJ, for your hard work on this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors like to speak on behalf of this motion? Counselor Majota.
Yes, I just want to thank TJ and his team for doing this. Quick question: how does the boat get transferred here? I might have missed that.
No, after it's built, we'll have it shipped. We'll have it shipped down over the road. It's in Down East Maine, a little town called Brookline, Maine. We'll have a over the road transport hauler bring it here. Usually probably relatively short money, considering probably be about $1,200, I think, to have it brought down here on a trailer. Once we get it here, we have the accommodations. These boats are hauled out and transported by a local vendor who transports boats, and they're stored at the DPW. But again, all our boat stands and all the other stuff we already have are compatible because the hull's exactly the same. It's another key point for this is being able to stock parts and not have so many different things that you have to try to streamline everything. That's why I've been putting Suzuki's on all of our boats, for boats that can handle 300 horsepower or below, because I'm trying to keep everything uniform and make it easier for us to service and maintain. So that's
Okay.
how that.
Thank you. Any further comments by counselors? Counselor O'Hara.
Thank you. I just want to say that I will be supporting this. I want to thank Michael, the launch operator, for his diligence as far as keeping the passengers safe. Obviously, it's very important to have a backup, and whether it's a fire truck, a police car, or a passenger taxi. I did have a discussion with Alex at Atlantic up in Brooklyn, Maine, and as TJ mentioned, it's a solid vessel. It's the city will get a lot of years. It's a really wise investment, and if you probably do the math and how many passengers it moves, it's a steal. So I think it will benefit not only the people, the citizens of Gloucester who have moorings throughout the city, but obviously the business owners that will benefit from, as Councilor Worthy says, the walking wallet. So wish you luck with this. You'll get my approval, and I know Alex is going to be awaiting a phone call tomorrow from you, TJ. Thank you.
So I'm the last person to speak, and I'm going to be supporting this. I had just a short story to tell about the day of the Parade of Sail, the Schooner Festival. We were waiting to get out to our schooner, and we couldn't help but notice that TJ was filling in for somebody else that had called in sick. And you were so busy that day, but I would just always be grateful that as harbor master, you rolled up your sleeves and made sure that people got to their boats on time for the beginning of the Parade of Sail. So shout out to you, TJ, and I'll be supporting this. So I think we're ready to move on. If anyone else would like to speak on the council, seeing none. We have a motion, we have a seconded, and at this point we have a roll call vote. Councilor Nolan is absent. Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council
Yes.
O'Neill, Thank you.
Yes.
Council Worthley,
Yes.
Council Gilman, yes. Council Gross,
Yes.
Council Grow,
Yes.
Council Majota,
Yes.
Council Memard.
Yes.
The yeses have it, 8 in favor, 1 absent. Thank
Madam
you.
Chair?
Thank you. Yes, Council Worthley.
I'd like to make a motion for immediate reconsideration. With the hope
Second.
of a no.
There's a motion made by Council Worthley or seconded by Council Memard. Roll call vote. Council Nolan is absent. Council O'Hara,
No.
Council O'Neill,
No.
Council Worthley,
No.
Council Gilman, no. Council Gross,
No.
Council Grow,
Nope.
Council Majota,
No.
Council Memard.
No.
The motion fails. None in favor, 1 absent, and 8 opposed. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Councilor's request to the mayor.
Okay, so we'll go in order of our roll call. So Council O'Hara, you have the floor first.
Sure, thank you. I want to ask the mayor if he could, through the DPW, I would assume the west end of Stage 4 Park at Cressy's Beach. There's been a large washout, has been there for years. I believe it's an extreme safety hazard. There are very large oak trees, probably weigh in the vicinity of 10 tons that are underrooted. And it's a major safety hazard. It's also probably something we want to bring in Mass DOT. If we have a large rain event for an extended period, that washout will continue and Western Ave might be compromised through 127. Also want to ask the mayor to consider with the fire department looking at possibly investing into a used tender, which is a tanker truck. We have the continued growth of Gloucester. We have areas of Gloucester, Rust Island being one of them, that has 0 fire protection. There is no water source, and the exposures are increasing through the construction. And as I've mentioned over the years, that minutes count, and every minute a fire is not put out, it increases in size. Also want to ask the mayor if he would consider working with the fire and police department chiefs to redeploy, if you will, or an energized CERT, which is the Community Emergency Response Team, which is a federally funded citizens group to help in emergencies. It's being used right now in great numbers on the West Coast with the torrential downpours that they have. It's a very important asset to have. We did have it. I was a part of it. Councilor Cox was also. Also want to ask the mayor, we once had a dive team. That dive team no longer exists, and we're a city that's surrounded by water with the quarries. Obviously, the unfortunate event that happened last spring, summer with the Revere teenager. Again, in a situation like that, seconds count. Having a diver, we're dependent on the state police or Beverly Dive or Salem Dive to mobilize. By then, it's a recovery. It's not a rescue. We really need it. And this last one isn't anything for the mayor, but I want to apologize to Councilor Worthley. I've been very hard on him dealing with the no trespass order, and I want to apologize because this is something which I know that's been extremely painful for him, and I hope that he can move on from it. Councilor Worthley, my apologies. Thank you.
Thank you, I think.
So thank you, Council O'Hara. Council O'Neill.
I have no requests at this time.
Thank you, Council Worthley.
I have lots of requests, but I'm submitting them in writing and email to the mayor's office through the city clerk's office. So I just want to wish, I think Councilor Crowe had a birthday since our last council meeting. So happy birthday, Tony. And I don't know if there's anybody else who's had one since then, but I look forward to this next year with everybody.
Thank
Happy
you.
New Year.
Thank you, Councilor. Council Gross.
No, I'm good.
Council Grow.
You're
I'm
old.
fine.
Council Majota.
I have submitted my request to the mayor's office. So nothing for me tonight.
Council Memard.
One request and one thank you shout out. If any of you haven't recently driven between Eastern Avenue and Thatcher's Road on Marina Drive, the road work that the mayor and Mike Hale have accomplished there, repaving Marina Drive, including new sidewalks, is spectacular. And they were able, with their contractor, to do the aprons onto the private ways of both Loma, Porto, and Loma, Porto, and is it
Rio?
Cato Drive? Is that right?
Cabo.
Cato.
Cabo.
Yeah. Cabo, thank you. I had it. So that's an example of good things ahead. Likewise, Mount Pleasant Avenue is still in a high state of disrepair right now, as Councilor Grow knows, but they're making good progress on that. And I know personally that they've worked with a number of the abutters on Mount Pleasant Avenue to address individual problems relating to their hookups, correcting problems that were left in place decades ago. So that's nice to see again. The request is just, it's been postponed and again, but I do, on behalf of our East Gloucester and Ward 1 constituency and the whole city, need to request that the mayor update us at the earliest possible time relating to the Good Harbor Beach Creek situation, the results of the studies that we paid to have conducted, and what the prospects are for addressing the issue, so that we can perhaps look forward to a unpolluted creek in this coming summer season. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. And I'm the last person to speak. I have a couple of things. First of all, I'd like to request something from both Council O'Hara and me, and that's a request to the mayor that we ask the DPW director to come to speak to the council in a brief presentation about the status of the trees that are infringing on wires, in that we get a better understanding of what responsibilities lie with National Grid and what responsibilities lie within the city and what responsibilities lie with owners who might have these trees on their property, and just get a better understanding, because with the winter months coming, we are all always fearful of long power outages. And the more we get to understand what the challenges are, the more we can better plan for how we can do more preventative maintenance, if that's possible, or if not, look at ways that we might need to do some budgeting matters for this upcoming year, because power outages in the wintertime are really not a good thing. And I like Council O'Hara's suggestion about the certs and getting the certs back, because I always think of ways that we can reach out to people that might be alone and not have anyone to help look over them during a major power outage. I also wanted to mention that I appreciated the list from Mayor Verga of all the public roads, and we should all try to post that as quickly as possible on our websites. I think it's a good summary of all the roads that have been done recently and all the roads that are in the queue for this upcoming year, and to let our constituents know that we've got some major undertakings, which is exciting. And then finally, I just want to mention to all of you that we've asked that board counselors conduct some meetings next month or two, January, February. One of the items is we want to start to get some input from our constituents about issues that they would like to see us budget for fiscal 2024. We understand that the department heads basically have a lot of things that they need to budget, but we just think that it would be a nice time to hear from our constituents, and also to put on that agenda other matters that people would like to talk about. And if you want to look on my Ward 4 page, I posted something. I'm having my ward meeting at the Lanesville Community Center on the 26th of January, and it's at 6 o'clock. And our meetings are going to be present, which is pretty exciting. I think Ward Councilor Majota is looking at having a meeting at the Cape Ann Bowling Alley, correct?
Correct, yes.
Which is exciting. And so we just asked all the ward councilors to start rolling up their sleeves, figuring out where they can have the meetings and plan them. And that's exciting. So I think that's all. I mean, we've had a long meeting. I appreciate the dialogue tonight, and I wanted to wish everyone a happy new year. I have put together an overview of last year and some things that I think we are challenged to do in the upcoming year. It's in your packet, and I appreciate your support and all your hard work. So that's it. So is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
So there's a motion to adjourn, and there's a second by Councilor O'Neill. Let's have our last roll call vote. Councilor Nolan is absent. Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
Councilor O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilor Worthley.
Yes.
Councilor Gilman. Yes. Councilor Gross.
Yes, and good night.
Councilor Grow.
Yes.
Councilor Majota.
Yes.
Councilor Memard.
Yes, good night.
The motion passes 8 in favor of adjourning, 1 absent. Joanne, thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
Good night, you're welcome.